Assalamu alaikum everyone, welcome to this second lesson of Arabic secret course. In the previous lesson we learned how to read Arabic alphabet with the help of harakat, which is diacritics. And if you don't know what harakat is, you can watch the first lesson to learn more about it. And this lesson is going to be about the subject pronouns. But before we start, let me just talk about something important here. Arabic is a Semitic language, like other Semitic languages. It has a neat system for making words. There are roots made of several consonants, usually 3. Each root has a general definition that is then modified by inserting patterns of vowels between the consonants. But this neat system is difficult to learn for beginners, and the learners might easily get lost or frustrated. So to avoid this, we'll start from a different topic that speeds up the learning, and later on we will end up using this system. Also, please keep in mind these two things. 1. A word in Arabic has many different meanings based on harakat, so you need to pay attention to the harakat. 2. Arabic language is very descriptive language, and there are some words that can be translated to sentences in English. So please stick with me and pay attention so you don't get lost. Now, every pronouns group has 3 persons: first, second, and third, as you can see here. Everything in the blue cells refers to the first person who is talking. Everything in the yellow cells refers to the second person, which is the one you talk to. And everything in the green cells refers to the third person, which is the one you talk about. This table contains all the Arabic subject pronouns, but before we go through them, let's have the first rule for reading. In Arabic, a word never starts with a letter without harakat, meaning the first letter of any word always comes with harakat. For example, ana. Ana means I in English. And as you can see, the first letter has a fatha. And of course, we know what fatha is because we already learned it in the first lesson. Next is nahnu, and it means we. And also the first letter, which is noon, has fatha on it. And without fatha, it would be like nahnu. Nahnu is not a word. So wrong pronunciation, the word will lose its meaning. So always pay attention to the harakat. And also don't forget that any word in Arabic must have harakat. Of course, you can write it without harakat, but you must read it with harakat. And how would you know how to read it? This is what you're gonna learn with the practicing. Now let's first learn how to read them, then translate them. We start over. Ana, ana. Na, nahnu, nahnu. Anta, anta. Anti, anti. Antuma, antuma. Antum, antum. Antunna, antunna, antunna. Huwa, huwa. Hiya, hiya. Huma. Hum, hum. The last one. Hunna. Hunna. Now let's do translation, then we read them again. Ana means I. For singular, like a single person who's talking, it doesn't matter if it's male or female, both they can use ana. Nahnu means we, plural. The same here, it doesn't matter if we are female or male, both they can use nahnu. Next is anta. Anta means you, a singular male, not female. Next is anti. Anti means also you, and also singular, but not male, is for female. Next is antuma. It's also you, but not for singular, it's for dual. For example, like in English, you both. And it's used if you are talking to 2 people, and it doesn't matter if they are male or female. The next is antum. Antum is also you, but only for plural male. Next is antunna. It's also you, but only for female and plural. So for plural female. Next is huwa. Huwa means he for singular male. Next is hiya. Hiya means she for singular female. Next, huma. Huma means they, but for dual, for only two people. Next is hum. Hum means they, but only for male, so plural and male. Next is hunna. It also means they in English, but only for female and plural. So hunna means they for plural female. Now let's move to the next, which is the verb in Arabic. Now in English, there is something called main verb. For example, do, eat, drink. And there is a rule for regular verbs like drink, which is the ed. If you add the ed at the end of the word, would make the verb in the past. Also in English, there are 12 tenses. Arabic is unlike English. In Arabic, there are 3 forms of every verb, and there are only 3 tenses, no more. Now, let's look at the forms of the verb, and then we go over the tenses. The first form of the verb is called past, which is used in the past tense. The second form of the verb is called present, and it's used in the present tense. And the third form of the verb is called imperative or imperative mood, and it's used when forming a command or order, requesting or tell somebody to do something, or even to give instructions or some advice. Now let's start with the past first. Fa'al, fa'al, fa'al. This means did in English. Comes from verb to do. So fa'al means did in the past. The next, ya'al, yaf'al, and it means doing in English. And it can also mean he does or he is doing. So it works for both present continuous tense and present simple tense. Next, which is imperative, if'al, if'al, and it means do. It's a command, or maybe requesting do something, or telling somebody to do something like we mentioned. Do. Now the next verb, sa'ad, sa'ad. Next, yusa'id, yusa'id. Next, sa'id, sa'id. Now the translation. Sa'ad means helped in the past tense. Yusa'id means helping. Sa'id means help. Now the next verb, dhahab, dhahab, dhahab means went in the past tense. The next, yadhab, 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 and it means going. Idhab, idhab, and it means go. And as we mentioned earlier, everything in the imperative column is used to tell somebody to do something. Okay, now let's see how we can use these verbs in a sentence. And we will start with the past tense. الزمن الماضي. الزمن الماضي. If you want to say in Arabic, I did, you did something, for example, first you need to know the suffix of I. And in this case, it's to, like a ta and a dhamma on it. For example, fa'al is in the past. Fa'al itself, it doesn't say who did the action. But when you attach the ta and the dhamma on it, which is a to, then it tells that I did the action. For example, fa'al, fa'altu, and it means I did. This rule is a part of the past tense, and in order to know who did the action, you need to attach the suffix of the pronouns to the end of the verb. We don't use ana, which means I. Arabic, unlike English. In English, you need to define the pronouns first by saying I or we or you and then the verb. For example, I did. But in Arabic, we don't use ana. we just start with the verb and we end the verb with the suffix of the pronouns. Don't confuse with ana. I'm just writing here ana to know that all these examples refers to ana. And you don't have to say ana. You can just say فعلت, which means I did. And the same with other verbs. ساعدت, and it means I helped. The same with the third example. ذهبت, ذهبت. Now the next, the examples of we. The same rule, the verb in the past, for example, فعل, ساعد, ذهب, plus the suffix of the pronouns. And in this case, the suffix of we. And as you can see, the suffix is written in different color. نحن means we. فعلنا means we did. ساعدنا, ذهبنا. And as you can see, always na is attached to the verb. Like the previous example, we write the verb in the past tense and then attach the suffix to the verb. Next is أنت, means you for a single male. فعلت means you did. Like we mentioned earlier, we don't have to say أنت, we could just say فعلت. And the suffix of أنت is ta with a fatha on it, and it's pronounced ta. So فعل ta, ta means you did the action. Next, ساعدت, ساعدت, you helped. Next, ذهبت, ذهبت means you went. Next, أنت means you but for single female. فعلت, فعلت means you did. ساعدت, ساعدت, you helped. ذهبت, ذهبت, you went. All these for you, a single female. And the suffix of this, أنت, is ta with a kasra under it. So ti. فعلت, ساعدت, ذهبت. It all ends with t. Next, أنتما, and it means you both. It doesn't matter female or male. فعلتما, فعلتما. It means you both did. ساعدتما, ساعدتما. You helped. ذهبتما, ذهبتما. And it means you went for both of you. Next, أنتم also means you, but plural male. فعلتم, فعلتم. And it means you did. ساعدتم, ساعدتم. And it means you helped. Next, ذهبتم, ذهبتم. And it means you helped. As you can see, the suffix of you or أنتم is tum. 2 letters, so ta and mim, and the dhamma on the ta. And it's pronounced tum. So فعلتم, ساعدتم, ذهبتم. And all ends with tum. Next is أنتن. أنتن means also you, but for plural female. The first example, فعلتن, فعلتن. And it means you did, again for plural female. Next, ساعدتن, ساعدتن. And it means you helped. Next, ذهبتن, ذهبتن. And it means you went for plural female. Next, هو means he. فعل, فعل. And it means he did. The pronoun هو does not have a suffix that can be attached to the verb. Instead, uses fatha that can be placed on the last letter of the verb. Where does this fatha come from? It comes from the pronoun itself. And as you can see here, the pronoun هو has a fatha on the last letter. هو, هو. And therefore, this fatha is used as a reference for هو or for he. For example, فعل. We know that فعل is in the past and it doesn't say who did the action. But when you say فعل, means he did. So the fatha on the last letter of the verb means that he does something. So the fatha represents the pronoun he. And the same with other examples. ساعد in the past, but when you say ساعد, means he helped. And the same with the third example. ذهب means went, but when you say ذهب means he went. Next, هي means she. فعلت means she did. Now, here there are two things you need to be aware of. The first thing is the suffix that we always use, and the second thing is the last letter of the verb before we add the suffix. For example, if we look at the verb in the past tense, it's pronounced like fa'al. And when we add the suffix, we know who did the action. But in this case, if you want to say that she did something, then you need to do two things. The first is take the form of huwa and attach the suffix of hiya to the verb, meaning that you need to use the fatha that's on the last letter of the verb in a form of huwa, the one we just talked about. For example, fa'ala, and it means he did. But when you attach the ta to the end of the verb, it will be fa'alat, fa'alat, and it means she did. And as you can see here, the lam, the letter before the last one, has a fatha on it, like the example of huwa. The same with the second example, sa'adat, sa'adat. And as you can see, the verb in the past is pronounced sa'ad. But if you want to say he helped, then you have to say sa'ada. And when you add the ta to the end of the verb, it would be sa'adat. And sa'adat means she helped. Now the third example, dhahabat, dhahabat. And it means she went. Next, huma means they, both, for dual, female or male. Fa'ala means they did, for only dual, female or male. Fa'ala. Now, the suffix of huma is the alif. As you can see, it's in a different color. The second example, sa'ada, and it means they helped. Third example, dhahaba, dhahaba, and it means they went. And as you can see, we only add the alif to the end of the verb. Dhahab in the past, but when you say he went, you would say dhahaba. So you put a fatha on the ba, like the example here. And this fatha stays on the letter when we use it for hiya, but not for other examples. Now, next is hum, and it means they for plural male. Fa'alu, fa'alu, and it means they did. And the suffix of this pronouns is waw and alif. As you can see, they are in a different color. Fa'al means did in the past, but when you say fa'alu means they did in the past. The second example, sa'adu, sa'adu, and it means they helped. The third example, dhahabu, dhahabu, and it means they went. And of course, for plural male. The next example is hunna. Hunna also means they, but for female. Fa'alna, fa'alna, and it means they did for female. And the suffix of hunna is noon and a fatha on it, as you can see here. So the verb in the past is fa'al, but if you want to say that they did for female, then you would say fa'alna. The second example, sa'adna, sa'adna, and it means they help. The third example, dhahabna, dhahabna, and it means they went for female. Okay, that was everything about the past tense. Now let's go through the present tense. الزمن المضارع. In the past tense, we use the verb plus the suffix to refer to the doer or who did the action. But in the present tense, we use the prefix plus the verb and sometimes the suffix. For example, أنا means I. And if you want to say I do, then you would say أفعل. Now let's see what we did here. We did three things. First, we removed the first letter of the verb and added the prefix of ana to the verb. And we kept the harakat that was on the first letter of the verb. And in this case, fatha. And it becomes af'al. Now the second example, usa'id, usa'id, usa'id. And the same here, the first letter or the prefix of ana has a dhamma on it because the dhamma is already was on the ya of yusa'id. The third example, adhab, adhab, and it means I go. And usa'id means I help. The next example, nahnu, means we, naf'al, and it means we do. And the prefix of nahnu is noon. And if you noticed here, we keep the fatha on the first letter, although it's changed from ya to noon. It was yaf'al and now it's naf'al. Second example, nusa'id, nusa'id, and it means we help. The third example, nadhab, nadhab, and it means we go. The next example, anta, you, taf'al, and it means you do for single male, and the prefix of anta is ta, taf'al. The second example, tusa'id, tusa'id, and it means you help. The third example, tadhhab, tadhhab, and it means you go for a single male. The next example, anti, also means you, but for a singular female. Taf'alin, taf'alin. Anti has a prefix and suffix, and the prefix of anti is the same as anta, and the suffix of anti is ya and noon. So we use the form of anta and we attach the suffix of anti to the end of the verb. The second example, tusa'idin, tusa'idin, and it means you help. The third example, tadhhabin, tadhhabin, and it means you go for a singular female. The next example, antuma, also means you, but for both female and male, also for both of you, so a dual. Taf'alan, taf'alan, and it means you both do. And the prefix of antuma is ta, and the suffix is alif and nun. The second example, tusa'idan, tusa'idan, and it means you help. The third example, tadhhaban, tadhhaban, and it means you both go for dual female or male. Next is antum, and it means you for plural male. Taf'alun, taf'alun, and it means you do. The prefix of antum is ta, like anta, and the suffix is waw and nun. Second example, tusa'idun, tusa'idun, and it means you help. The third example, tadhhabun, tadhhabun, and it means you go for plural male. The next example, antunna, antunna, and it means also you but plural female. Taf'alna, taf'alna, and it means you do. The prefix of antunna is ta, and the suffix is noon. The second example, tusa'idna, tusa'idna, and it means you help. The third example, tadhhabna, tadhhabna, and it means you go for female. The next example, hiya means she, taf'al means she does. The prefix of hiya is ta, and there is no suffix for hiya. The second example, tusa'id, tusa'id, and it means she helps. The third example, tadhhab, tadhhab, and it means she does. Next is huwa. Huwa means he, yaf'al, and it means he does, and the prefix of huwa is ya. The second example, yusa'id, yusa'id, and it means he helps. The third example, yadhhab, yadhhab, and it means he goes. Next is huma, and it means they both or dual for female or male. Yaf'alan, yaf'alan, and it means they do, and the prefix of huma is ya, and the suffix is alif and nun. The second example, يساعدان يساعدان, and it means they help. The third example, يذهبان يذهبان, and it means they go. Next is هم. هم means they for plural male. يفعلون يفعلون, and it means they do. And the prefix of هم is ya, and the suffix is واو nun. The second example, يساعدون يساعدون, and it means they help. The third example, يذهبون يذهبون, and it means they go for plural male. The last one in the present tense, هن. هن means they for plural female. يفعلن يفعلن, and it means they do. And the prefix of هن is ya, and the suffix is nun. The second example, يساعدن يساعدن, and it means they help. The third example, يذهبن يذهبن, and it means they go for plural female. Okay, that was everything about the present tense. Now let's go through the future tense. In Arabic, called الزمن المستقبل. الزمن المستقبل. The future tense uses the form of the present tense with additional special prefix of the future tense, which is the letter sin or سوف. For example, أنا is I. And if you want to say I will do, then you can say either سوف أفعل or سأفعل. Those are two different forms with the same meaning. So it's up to you which one you use. سوف means will in English, and it's always followed by a verb. And since the future tense uses the present tense form, we don't have many rules here. We have only one rule, which is adding a special prefix, and in this case, either سوف or the letter sin with a fatha on it. Meaning, if we remove the سوف and say only أفعل, it will be in the present tense. Means I do. So أفعل, I do. سوف أفعل, I will do. And in the future tense, we don't need to use the pronouns. For example, أنا, نحن, أنت, which means I, we, you. We can just start with سوف followed by the present tense, like in the examples here. The second example, سوف أساعد. سوف أساعد means I will help. The third example, سوف أذهب. سوف أذهب, and it means I will go. And the second form of the future tense is using the letter sin with a fatha on it, so sa, plus the present form, like in the examples here. سأفعل. سأفعل also means I will do. The second example, سأساعد. سأساعد, and it means I will help. The third example, سأذهب. سأذهب, and it means I will go. Next is نحن. نحن means we. سوف نفعل. سوف نفعل, we will do. سوف نساعد. سوف نساعد, we will help. سوف نذهب. سوف نذهب, we will go. The second form, سنفعل. سنفعل, we will do. سنساعد. سنساعد, we will help. سنذهب. سنذهب, we will go. Next is أنت, and it means you for singular male. سوف تفعل. سوف تفعل, you will do. سوف تساعد. سوف تساعد, you will help. سوف تذهب. سوف تذهب, you will go. And the second form, ستفعل. ستفعل, you will do. ستساعد. ستساعد, you will help. ستذهب. ستذهب, you will go. Next is أنت, and it means you for singular female. سوف تفعلين. سوف تفعلين, you will do. سوف تساعدين. سوف تساعدين, you will help. سوف تذهبين. سوف تذهبين, you will go. The second form, ستفعلين, ستفعلين, you will do. ستساعدين, ستساعدين, you will help. ستذهبين, ستذهبين, you will go. Next is أنتما, and it means you, for both, you both. Dual, for female or male. سوف تفعلان, سوف تفعلان, you will both do. سوف تساعدان, سوف تساعدان, you will both help. سوف تذهبان, سوف تذهبان, you will both go. ستفعلان, ستفعلان, you will both do. ستساعدان, ستساعدان, you will both help. ستذهبان, ستذهبان, you will both go. Next is أنتم. أنتم means you, for plural male. سوف تفعلون, سوف تفعلون, you will do. سوف تساعدون, سوف تساعدون, you will help. سوف تذهبون, سوف تذهبون, you will go. The second form, ستفعلون, ستفعلون, you will do. ستساعدون, ستساعدون, you will help. ستذهبون, ستذهبون, you will go. Next is أنتن, and it means you, for plural female. سوف تفعلن, سوف تفعلن, you will do. سوف تساعدن, سوف تساعدن, you will help. سوف تذهبن, سوف تذهبن, you will go. The second form, ستفعلن, ستفعلن, you will do. ستساعدن, ستساعدن, you will help. ستذهبن, ستذهبن, you will go. Next is هو, and it means he. سوف يفعل, سوف يفعل, he will do. سوف يساعد, سوف يساعد, he will help. سوف يذهب, سوف يذهب, he will go. The second form, سيفعل, سيفعل, he will do. سيساعد, سيساعد, he will help. سيذهب, سيذهب, he will go. Next is هي, and it means she. سوف تفعل, سوف تفعل, she will do. سوف تساعد, سوف تساعد, she will help. سوف تذهب, سوف تذهب, she will go. The second form, ستفعل, ستفعل, she will do. ستساعد, ستساعد, she will help. ستذهب, ستذهب, she will go. Next is هما. هما means they both, dual female or male. سوف يفعلان, سوف يفعلان, they will do. سوف يساعدان, سوف يساعدان, they will help. سوف يذهبان, سوف يذهبان, they will go. The second form, سيفعلان, سيفعلان, they will do. سيساعدان, سيساعدان, they will help. سيذهبان, سيذهبان, they will go. The next is هم. هم means they, for plural male. سوف يفعلون, سوف يفعلون, they will do. سوف يساعدون, سوف يساعدون, they will help. سوف يذهبون, سوف يذهبون, they will go. The second form, سيفعلون, سيفعلون, they will do. سيساعدون, سيساعدون, they will help. سيذهبون, سيذهبون, they will go. Next is هن. هن means they, for plural female. سوف يفعلن, سوف يفعلن, they will do. سوف يساعدن, سوف يساعدن, they will help. سوف يذهبن, سوف يذهبن, they will go. The second form, سيفعلن, سيفعلن, they will do. سيساعدن, سيساعدن, they will help. سيذهبن, سيذهبن, they will go. Now that's all about the future tense. Let's move to the last part of the lesson, which is the imperative mood, and it's called in Arabic zamanul amri. And as we already know, this imperative mood, it's only used with the second person, which is you. And in this case, anta, anti, antuma, antum, antunna. And all these mean you in English. And to make a sentence in the imperative mood, you need to use the imperative form of the verb plus sometimes the suffix of the pronouns. For example, if'al is the imperative mood of the verb do. And using the imperative mood of the verb without any suffix means that you are telling the second person, which is you, and in this case, anta, to do something. So, if'al means do. The second example, sa'id, sa'id, and it means help. So you are telling the second person, anta, to help. Idhab. Idhab means go. Also the same, you are telling the second person, anta, to go. Next is if'ali, and it also means do, but for a singular female. Means you are telling a singular female to do something. The second example, sa'idi, sa'idi, and it means help. The third example, idhabi, idhabi, and it means go. Next, if'ala, if'ala, and it also means do, but for you, dual, female or male. Sa'ida, sa'ida means help. The third example, idhaba, idhaba, and it means go. Next, if'alu, if'alu, and it means do for plural male. The second example, sa'idu, sa'idu, and it means help. Idhabu, idhabu, and it means go. The last one, if'alna, if'alna, and it means do for plural female, so telling a group of female to do something. Next, sa'idna, sa'idna, and it means help. The last one, idhabna, idhabna, and it means go. Now that's it for this lesson, and as always, if you are interested in the lesson material, you can get it by the link in the description. See you in the next video.